Hi, I'm Dr. Robert J. Newton for part 5 of using consciousness as a key to immortality. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to do some explanation of some of the things that were covered in parts 1 through 4. So, Max Tegmark talked about the difference between things that are living and dead is atoms being arranged into patterns. And it also has to do, however, with the atomic geometries that manifest, which those atoms can manifest. So Valery P. Kondratov's geometry of a uniform field talks about the 9 geometric forms of creation, which I just happen to have a chart of from actually Valery's work right here. So you can see in the second dimension, not too many geometries, fourth dimension more, that's 190, fifth dimension more, 151, sixth dimension more, eighth dimension more. So just that you can know that Valery and I are not hallucinating. This is a photograph of several platinum crystals, and it reveals these atomic geometries at the atomic level. So this is, I'm trying to think of the man that did this. In 1955, this picture was actually shot. So that explains, I hope that makes that a little bit clearer. So remember, once again, we have consciousness at 760 in Hebrew Gematria and 175 in English Gematria. Now, we also had a term we were talking about as consciousness in the Gematria, intuitive logic. And I think what's going on with intuitive logic, it's adding more than just the logic to things. It's adding more than just a syllogism with a major premise, a minor premise, and a conclusion. It's actually, which is very limiting. It has a value, but it's not taking us into the vast knowledge that exists in the atomic field, which in the Vedas and in the Upanishads is called the Akashic Records. And Dr. Hurtak talks about something similar in the Keys of Enoch. So, syllogistic logic only bears sweet fruit if the premises are true and correct. And believe me, this doesn't happen too often. People can manipulate you with their BS false premises, which can give a logical conclusion but not valid and accurate. So the reason, as I talked about before, consciousness is expanded in the fourth versus the third dimension and in the fifth versus the fourth. And this has to do with the denser concentration of the atomic geometries that create the higher energy, and it's the result of more atoms or which are electromagnetic, positive and negative alternating current from the more geometries that exist in the higher dimensions. So, much of the power of the 72 names of God in Exodus 14, 19 to 21, I wanted to bring this up from the Torah, come from the cymatic vibrational waves. Well, I meant to share a picture with you of this. I'm annoyed at myself, but anyway, you can see it very clearly in both Hebrew and in Sanskrit that they make these the vibrations from these make these atomic forms in water crystals and things like this. Dr. Hans Jenny did a lot of research into that kind of thing. So, these vibrations help create more telomerase enzyme, which we can actually measure, which ensures a continual and proper cell replication. And that's very important until you get yourself into a state of Saruga Samadhi or a state of continual immortality. I mean, we are immortal, but what I'm talking about is taking this body, which everyone thinks it has to die, au contraire, but it is possible, and many people have done it in my Kriya Kundalini yoga lineage, including Babaji Nagaraj, Agastya, Bhaganathar, Tita Mullar, etc. So, this can also, this telomeres creates an epigenetic properties that can change
5 minutes.
DNA for the better or for the worse, depending on your emotional state. Happy, it will be better. Depressed, angry, it will be worse. So, I talked about the primordial breath. I think it was in the part 2. And this is, as I said, exemplified in Kriya Kundalini Pranayama or Pranayama, where the breath is twice as long on the exhale as on the inhale. But we also, in a book called The Primordial Breath about Chinese breathing canons, it talks about, this is a comparison how whales and sea turtles breathe only every 3 to 4 minutes and live hundreds of years, whereas a dog breathes, what, 100 times a minute?
6 minutes.
And 100 times a minute, and has maybe 12, 10, 15-year lifespan, not very much. So this is giving proof of why we want to do this, why we want to slow the breath down, why we would even want to go into samadhi, which would take us into a state of Saruga Samadhi, continual Samadhi, which would take us into a state of immortality. So, as an example, the twice as long inhale, at the worst, is life extension, and at the best, an immortality technique. So consciousness, as we said before, is not in a brain as per what physicist Jay Lakhani said in his article Challenging Materialism in Hinduism Today of July, August, September 2011, where he said, again, this is important, no part of the brain has been found in which consciousness has been located. And this is true even to this day. So I want to get into the characteristics of a pyramid. We were talking about pyramids and Holy Trinity and things like that, and the Carpenter's theorem and comparable things. The vibration of a pyramid is at 11 hertz, which just happens to be alpha consciousness, which is a basic meditation. And it gives us more creativity. The word pyros in Greek, which is the base word of pyramid, equals fire, and it also would relate to the intelligent cosmic vibration, which is yagna, and which is fire, agna, which is light, and om, the sound of the sacred sound of creation from the Bhagavad Gita. So these are some comparison things. So these are all aspects of prana, chi, electromagnetic energy, and atoms, which could also be Adam, or the atoms of Adam, or God power. So a pyramid is an immortality technique, and very much more than just in a manner of speaking, an immortality technique and an accelerator of prana, what you call a magnifier, an amplifier. That's the word I was looking for. So, and so Gematria light body reveals Gematria is itself somewhat an immortality technique. I'm still trying to get my head around that because I just found it, but it's kind of taking us there. So the patterns, and then I want to share some more about the patterns on the trestle board by Dr. Paul Foster Case. And he talks about the kingdom of spirit
9 megahertz
is embodied in my flesh. Okay, so this indicates, Dr. Case knew this, that we're really spirit rather than dense matter. So I'm going to also finally go within this wheel within a wheel. I wanted to explain more about this at 190. This is actually from Ezekiel in the Old Testament and the Torah. So it creates an electromagnetic vortex that bends time and space and is a dimensional transporter, a wormhole where we can have time travel going forward and back. And this was also used by DARPA. They had a wheel within a wheel, which they call the chronolyzer, which was kind of rotating wheels
10
that
minutes.
were with magnets and electrified. So this was easily allowed people to travel into other dimensions. Yet you don't have to do this with a chronalizer. I've done it many times without one. Yeah, so that's basically it. So DARPA used this as a Stargate, and the film Stargate, or the series, and
Wrap it up.
the movie.
Wrap it up.
That's what it is. So here's my scars. Thanks for listening. We'll be doing other cool things. These are my websites: www.drrobertnewton.com, www.drrobertjnewtonauthor.com, www.drrobertjnewtonauthorsupreme.com, www.greatmotivationaltalks.com, and Dr. Robert J. Newton on LinkedIn and Tweety Bird Twitter, Dr. Robert J. Newton Author on Facebook.